June 5th, 2024. Well, we have a few developments, of course. Um, this is June the 5th, we're only one day before the 80th anniversary of the D-Day invasion, of course. And of course, the D-Day invasion was supposed to go off on June the 5th, if we'll recall history, but the weather was bad, so it was delayed a day. But but what we're looking at now is a lot of situations. Of course, the big issue since the last video that I created, because I had been on vacation, and so I'd record some things that were topical but weren't so much time urgent, which is why I've only addressed the conviction of former President Trump in this sham trial in New York in a video. By the way, that's the way I see it. It's clearly there's constitutional violations in it, all kinds of procedural violations. I think this is clearly a case that will ultimately be overturned. And if you were dealing with an ordinary citizen having a case like this, yes, it would stretch out for a few years, and it would eventually be overturned. In fact, it might even be overturned in the appellate level if it's an ordinary citizen. Of course, since everybody in the New York system is a Democrat, whether they'll show any fealty to the law or will they simply have fealty to the party is another question. They always try to accuse the Republicans of putting party before country. No, the Democrats always put party before country. So, at any rate, but yeah, I had predicted, of course, ahead of time that this was going to be likely to be a conviction, possibly a hung jury. In some ways, I think the conviction again might be very well better for Trump than the hung jury would be, where he'd have to go through another 6 weeks of trial. Now the decision's been made. I think that, and given that this asinine judge is going to do the sentencing 4 days before the Republican convention. I mean, we can look toward him probably trying to sentence Trump to prison at that time, and maybe taking away his bail so he can't be at the convention. I wouldn't rule this out at all. This guy is a complete maniac. So we'll see. But I do think that the situation here probably looks to me to have helpful at least in two ways that I can think of. I guess it'd be two. One is that I think it increases the chance that the Supreme Court will look at this case earlier rather than letting it go through the normal multi-year procedures first, if it's necessary. And second of all, I think it might have some impact on the immunity case as well, and how they handle it, because I think they're going to see clearly that the real issue here is political lawfare that's going on, and not any normal prosecution. So I think in that sense, I think they've tainted their whole effort by having this case come through first. So anyway, that's basically what I think about that. Of course, other things are brewing in the Biden situation with there are two basic things on the Biden front that are happening, of course. One, of course, is the trial of Hunter, and the other is his new immigration executive order. And of course, those are both worth addressing here too. By the way, if you like these videos, again, please give me a like. We need more subscribers. We're looking for more subscriptions. And as always, I'll mention that we do, for those that are getting this through some of social media posts I do, rather than directly through YouTube. But if you are on Rumble, you can, of course, follow me on Rumble as I post the same material there. Yeah, so this, as the executive order, I mean, this is a complete sham. There's so many loopholes in this, just like there was in that bill that came through, that was defeated in the Senate. The 2,500 number is better than the 5,000 number in that, I guess, but it doesn't include apparently all the people that are being shipped in because they applied on some app and are shipping people in. All the false pretenses. Almost none of these people are due to asylum. Almost none of them should get asylum. None of them are political activists or persecuted minorities for the most part. And so that's. If everybody who had a hard life in the world could come to the country because of asylum, we'd have like billions of people ready to come in here. There's not enough space, and the country wouldn't be worth coming to once they all got here. So that's but this is all part of Biden's idea to try to change the demographics of the politics of this country. And so that I don't think that will be effective. Ultimately, he's trying to say that Trump and the Republicans are at fault of the immigration problem, but it existed a long time before. I mean, first of all, the situation was getting a lot better overall until Biden was, you know, so the election, he got elected, and then and his first act in office was to sign all these executive orders reversing everything Trump had done to stabilize the border situation. Um, there was a slight uptick right before then, but it was probably due to two. One, the fact that Biden was going to be president, and the other fact was that it's winter time and the weather is less challenging, to walk in a cooler winter than it would be in the hot summer in southern Texas and Arizona and Nevada and so forth, where the temperature would be so hot that people literally are dying of exposure due to dehydration and so forth. So that's I think that's going to be an issue that'll probably come up in the debates, but I don't think it'll be very effective at convincing anybody, frankly. Um, and then of course then we have the Hunter Biden trial, which is I mean, on that I'll make my prediction is he will not be convicted, either a hung jury or acquittal. But I mean, it's happening in a Democrat district. There's going to be the whole sympathy for Hunter and all that, and the pure hypocrisy that the Democrats are always pushing the gun control issue, and yet the president's son is violating a long-established gun law. So the whole thing is ludicrous. But just like the jury was so biased in the Trump case in New York toward conviction, I suspect they're going to be biased toward acquittal in the Hunter case, and all the appropriate people have showed up, and so I don't see that as being whatever. We'll see what comes of it, but one would tend to think that they're not going to convict him because they're the Democrats are what they are, and like I say, the immigration problem continues to be what it is. Overall, I think that as we look at the outcome right now, we don't have that much polling yet post conviction on Trump, but my guess is that it won't have any. It probably will be somewhat helpful to Trump ultimately. There'll be a bit of a backlash to the whole thing, not nearly as much as there was on the impeachment of Clinton about years ago, but I think that it's not going to be the make weight that the Democrats think it's going to be. And I still think there's a fair chance, particularly given that this judge, as I mentioned in my video on that previously, this judge, the more radical things he does at this point with sentencing and so forth, the more likely the Supreme Court is to take it up. Mark Levin has made the case that there are precedents for the Supreme Court intervening in a situation like this. And my argument is that this is not so much about the fate of a single individual in this case, but rather the fact that this is actually an attempt at interfering with the election process and using a trial that's clearly a sham trial to interfere with the election process. It'd be one thing if this was if there was actually a crime here, which there really isn't. I mean, bluntly, I would state outright the whole premise is wrong. He's being charged fundamentally with booking a legal expense as a legal expense and claiming that was fraudulent. What's fraudulent? That's what it was. So, and everything else is violates various Supreme Court rulings. They didn't have to find all the facts to agree. They could simply think that he must have committed some other crime of which there could have been two or three, I think, three of them. And I think, and one of them wasn't even a legitimate crime that would qualify for making this being a felony and therefore suitable to, even having it. The statutes had also expired. So I believe that given the impact on the election, I tend to think that there will be the Supreme Court might review it. And we don't know what they're going to do yet on the immunity case. Again, my recommendation on that is don't decide. Just keep the case open until after the election. And by not deciding, you've basically reduced, don't even really have to worry about it that much. It becomes kind of moot. And I think that might be the way they handle it. Or they might remand it to a lower court for certain considerations. The lower court, being a Democrat biased court, will no doubt come back and rule that the trial should go forward, which will then be appealed and go through the appellate court and then up to the Supreme Court again. And so you can just keep the thing going back and forth like a ping pong ball and prevent a decision. The shocker would be if the Supreme Court really decides flatly against Trump and agrees that the trial should go forward. But that would be putting their own future at risk, because the Democrats want to pack them, and they should realize that they're dealing with an unconstitutional group of people who want to seize power and quit playing this like it's a normal game. It isn't. So anyway, that's kind of the way I see about the current political events. I mean, I've gone through other issues, and particularly on the Senate thing, which pretty much identified that. So that's about it for now. I think that we'll have to see what plays out here. I guess the Hunter trial is the next thing, and that bogus immigration thing. Let's see how much it really reduces illegal immigration. It seems like it's more of a way to legitimize what was going on anyhow. So until next time, by the way, the addresses of my social media accounts are in the description below.